Hi, I'm Barry Ostrowski. At RWJ Barnabas Health, we believe that everyone needs to be informed about the important healthcare issues affecting their lives. That's why we're proud to support the important educational programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation.
Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, RWJ Barnabas Health, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, St. Peter's University, the Jesuit University of New Jersey, United Airlines, New Jersey State Nurses Association and the Institute for Nursing, and by New Jersey Resources. Promotional support provided by bestofnj.com, covering all NJ has to offer, and by New Jersey Monthly, the magazine of the Garden State, available at newsstands.
Because of Classroom Close-Up, I have had windows into other educators' classrooms. I see what an amazing state we are, where there are so many talented and creative educators giving their 100% to their children every single day.
As an educator, it's always nice to have your work highlighted, but especially as an arts educator, we spend so much time fighting for our funding. But when you have a segment like Classroom Close-Up showing the value and showing the impact to the community and the students in arts programming, you can't put a price on that.
Well, I'll tell you what, Classroom Close-Up is extraordinary, and the young lady we have on camera has been helping to make it happen for more than a few years. Wanda Swanson, executive producer of Classroom Close-Up, produced by the New Jersey Education Association, and been airing on public broadcasting for many years. Before that, on a different platform, and we've been partners and collaborators. We've been running excerpts from Classroom Close-Up featuring those educators who are so special. I heard that this is apparently time that you're stepping away from this?
I'm retiring.
You're too good at this. What are you doing?
You know, it's time for everybody to move on and enjoy life and travel and drink coffee on the porch. But I've had a great run. It's been 25 wonderful years.
You know, you're from Wyoming originally. Mm-hmm. You're not a Jersey girl, but you've adopted our state. We've adopted you.
Love this state.
And with your colleagues at Classroom Close-Up, you just had such an impact for 25 years. 15 Emmy Awards and potentially more, because there'll be more submissions in the near future. Your greatest satisfaction in doing this?
Giving voice to people that are voiceless. I mean, people are so critical of the schools, but they don't know what it's like to go in and see not only the teachers and the impact that they have on the students, but everybody that works in the schools, they care. I mean, from the secretary to the aide and the bus driver and the food service worker, those are their babies, and they care about those kids. And we're giving them a voice. They're the heroes.
How many Classroom Close-Up segments do you think you and your team have done in the past 25 years? About
1,500 to 1,700. Wow. That's a lot.
And we've had this conversation before. How have you picked among thousands, tens of thousands of great educators? We
try to do a variety of locations from north to south, from preschool to community college, and the topics, the variety of topics. But and then we also always highlight Teachers of the Year, County Teachers of the Year. There's tons of sources, but I usually, when I first started, I was told you may have a problem finding stories. Never. I mean, there's always a stack of story ideas. Any one, this is ridiculous. You're not going to do it? No, because they're all amazing. I mean, I can walk into any school and find an amazing story. There's always... it wouldn't be fair to anybody to say there was one. Well, how about this one? Help me on this, Georgette. Is it Dr. Sai? Dr. Sai? Siddiqui. Dr. Siddiqui. Why don't we do this? Dr. Siddiqui was featured on Classroom Close-Up, one of the almost 2,000. Let's just take a look.
Throughout his career, Mr. Sai has touched many of his students' lives. by using a hands-on learning approach and also challenging them to always do their best. But he never realized how much he meant to some of these kids until he received a phone call from a former student.
He called me. It changed the way I looked at every student from that phone call on. It was a life-changing phone call. And I said, why would you call me? He said, do you remember that day after school I took the brain and spinal cord out of the frog? You told me it was the best one you'd ever seen.
He said to me, you know, you got the hands of a surgeon, you're a smart, bright boy, and you could be a surgeon. You could be a brain surgeon if you wanted to. I remember that. I remember that clearly. You could be a brain surgeon. And that is a very important thing, especially when you're 13 years old. Because if you didn't think that, or if you had no idea you even wanted to be a brain surgeon, now that pops into your head. And you could say to yourself, you know what? My teacher, who I respect, told me that I have what it takes to be a brain surgeon.
What does that mean to you?
Well, and the story went further from there. It went to StoryCorps, and they went to D.C. They were at the White House talking about the story and the fact that we gave them the opportunity to tell their story, and it's gone viral since then. He contacted me about a month ago and said what an impact that story had on him and on a lot of people, because people need to see that story, that teachers change lives. It sounds so trite to say that they mold the future, but they do. They're making the future doctors and lawyers and people that are changing the world. So
Kid's 13 years of age. Dr. Siddiqui tells him he sees something in him.
Mm-hmm. And now he's a brain doctor, saving lives.
Can you truly appreciate the impact that you and your colleagues have had? Because not every person who has been impacted by Classroom Close-Up is saying, let me connect with Wanda and her team and tell her what it's meant. Do you have any idea?
I do, and we hear it all the time. We're coming upon our 25th and final season, and we're doing interviews with people about the impact that the show had on them, and we're telling they're heroes, and usually there's only attention when there's a shooting or there's something bad at the school. So to have someone go in and tell their stories and show the impact that they have, not us, but that they're having in this world, they're the heroes. And my producers, you said the producers.
They are the best.
They are amazing.
And by the way, we're going to try to find a way, because we've had a long time collaboration with the New Jersey Education Association, we're going to try to find a way to continue to use whatever video clips there are to profile educators. Because I can't describe the impact public school educators have had an hour for children. Extraordinary. You know, you said you wanted to just hang out on the porch and drink coffee. Mm-hmm. Come on, seriously.
Oh, no. I'm going to get involved in passionate causes, and because I can't just sit still. So I'm excited about that.
There's life after broadcasting?
There is. There is.
We'll talk.
Okay.
I can't thank you enough for being a great partner, a great colleague, an extraordinary journalist and producer who has brought credit and honor to all of us who call ourselves broadcasters. Thank you, Wanda.
And thanks for your support, really, seriously.
It's our honor and pleasure. We'll be right back, right after this.
To watch more Caucus New Jersey, find us online and follow us on social media.
We're at Kessler Foundation. Rodger DeRose is, in fact, the CEO. We've had many conversations on the air and off. Tonight, all these folks are gathered for a forum, a discussion that I'm honored, proud to moderate on the research going on at the foundation, but it's not more importantly, but its connection to veterans, quality of life issues for veterans, spinal cord injuries for veterans, and truthfully, employment. Why is this forum so important, Rodger?
You know, Steve, when we think of our vets, this is one way for us to thank them for the service that they provide to our country. And, you know, it's expertise that we have, both in mobility-related research, cognitive-related research, and then, importantly, the ability to help them transition back into this community, into the work life, and transition those military skills through employment. And so those are all areas that we have specialty in, and it's one of the reasons why we're holding tonight's event, to express not only our gratitude to the veterans, but also tell major sponsors and donors about the work that we do every day.
You know, as we've talked, as I said, both on the air and off, one of the things that always strikes me is the desire to take very sophisticated research and apply it, if you will, to the lives of people who are dealing with spinal cord injuries, brain injuries, and really improve the quality of their life. But the employment issue here is huge. Why is it so challenging for so many veterans who have physical and cognitive challenges?
You know, and it's not just veterans that have this issue. It's most of the people with disabilities face the same type of issue. And in this particular case, what we're trying to do is take all of those multiple skill sets that a veteran has learned while they were in the service.
Such as?
Well, they might have been involved in artificial intelligence. They might have been involved in computer-based programming. They might have been involved in drone-based programming.
How about team building?
And team building.
Leadership, you and I talk about all the time.
Absolutely. Leadership, the fact that they're mission-driven, the fact that they know how to react in situations. They make the ideal employee, but also they make great entrepreneurs as well, Steve.
A lot of misconceptions about veterans, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, when I think about when I grew up during the Vietnam era and the difference today, at least we're saying thank you for your service to the vets that are coming back from the Middle East wars going back to 1991. In Vietnam, I mean, those gentlemen that were coming back from the war, they were afraid to wear their uniform for the disrespect that was shown to them. So at least today, in our organization, this is an expression of thank you for your service to every veteran that comes through our door that we work with.
Final question. Rodger, beyond the clinical side of things, the research side of things, I also know that, because we've known each other for a long time, that on a human, personal level, this work and the impact it has had and will continue to have on veterans and the future of the research for veterans means a lot to you personally.
It does, Steve. You know, and when I think about coming into the office, it's not a job for me. It's really something that you feel a passion for, and you know that the work that you're doing is having an impact on the life of another person, whether it's a veteran or it's an individual that has sustained a brain injury or a child, based on the work that we do with Children's Specialized Hospital. It's that important to me.
Thank you, Rodger.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
We're at Kessler Foundation, and we're here for a forum tonight talking about the research going on here, but also the connection to that research, to helping veterans. And one of our terrific veterans is here with us, Christopher Scrufari, U.S. Marine Corps veteran and a participant in Kessler Foundation research. Talk about that research, Chris.
So they put me in the MRI machine and they watch my brain activity as they test different functions. They had me doing some cognitive work in the MRI machine, and they're watching my brain work. They treated my hand with some heat sensitivity to see how my brain engages that. They're looking at, as I understand it, they're looking at autonomic dysfunction and cognitive dysfunction, cognitive fatigue.
Listen, it's interesting. The word cognitive fatigue keeps coming up. It's connected to the larger question of Gulf War illness. You experience cognitive mental fatigue, and you're sensitive to light, right? Day to day, what's it like?
Mm-hmm. I don't have the brain that I used to have. I used to be a very sharp guy, multitask, remember everything, and I don't anymore. I have a hard time remembering a person's name in the middle of a conversation. I have a hard time remembering what my tasks are for the day that I'm supposed to be carrying out. I get into a crowd that is too noisy, and if I haven't prepped myself right, my brain just shuts down. It's like a firestorm of activity taking place where everything is just chaos inside my brain.
So let's stay with that. There's a huge crowd behind us. I don't even know if you can hear them, but we can hear them. Chris and I can hear them. So for you right now, it's challenging for me, and that's not the point. The question is, with all these folks around us and this sound around us, what is that like for you?
It's hard to filter out. I'm glad they want me to stay focused on you, because then that helps drown out everything around me. But it will, if we were here too long, it would completely shut me down, and I'd end up spending the night in a dark room.
You keep saying shut down. You said your brain would shut down. What does that actually mean?
So in the past, I have passed out fully, and it's just the cognitive agitation just builds up to the point where I'll just pass out. And so that's why I'm wearing these glasses. These glasses help a lot in calming down the brain. For some reason, the light that they keep out helps me calm down. So that shutting down, it's the passing out really is the culmination of it. But we've learned a lot, my wife and I, about managing these symptoms and secluding. Like we hid in the conference room leading up to coming out here. So we just went and sat in the quiet until it was time to come in. And that gives me the opportunity then to sit here for 10 or 15 minutes.
By the way, you're doing extremely well, much better than most, frankly. But I'm curious about this. Your participation in the research itself. Why did you choose to say, yes, I want to be a participant in that research?
I'm really glad you asked me that question. We can clearly see Gulf War illness symptoms in our firstborn child and our other 3 children. And we believe we can clearly see them in our grandchildren. And so to help other veterans and to help our children, I'll give Kessler anything they want so that they can research and dig in and find out what's going on for us. Did we in fact pass this on to our kids? And what can help? What can help us have a healthier, stronger tomorrow?
Chris, this is personal for you, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Very much so. Very much so.
Chris, thank you for being with us. Thank you for your service, and thank you for making a difference. Tonight, I know you'll be a part of an important conversation. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you.
To see more Caucus New Jersey with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD. And follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
We're pleased to be joined once again by our good friend Jim McGreevey, who happens to be the former governor of the great state of New Jersey and chairman of an organization called New Jersey Reentry Corporation, and Bill O'Day, Hudson County Freeholder, and connected with an organization called
Project Impact.
We'll talk about that in a second. Jim, you've helped us.
By the way, just to paraphrase the late friend Governor Byrne, he wanted to be buried in Hudson County.
So that he could
stay involved in Democratic politics.
I'm going to leave that alone, because we're not talking about politics in Jersey City or Hudson County. We are, in fact, continuing an ongoing conversation, Jim, that we've been having about, by the way, New Jersey Reentry Corporation, as the website comes up so that people know what it is.
Sure, www.njreentry.org.
And it does what?
Basically, we work with people coming out of state prison, coming out of county jails and drug courts and federal prison, get back into civilian life, whether we're helping them with their medical, with their legal services, with identification, also providing them connections with structured sober housing, but most importantly, employment, training and employment. And I think that's the importance of what we're doing here today. We were blessed with the state of New Jersey Department of Labor, works cooperatively with Department of Transportation to receive a grant between us and Bill of about $1 million to put young men and women that are traditionally underserved, coming out of prison, underserved populations, putting them to work, allowing them to become pre-apprentices. So we have an array of services, everything that we do with reentry, but in addition, we're going to get them lined up so that they can become union members, whether it's a carpenter, electrician, give them a lifetime skill.
Bill, talk about your involvement in this.
So
the impact, if you will.
We created a program beginning in Jersey City called Project Impact, increasing minority participation and access to construction trades. Started with Pat Kelleher, who was the head of the Hudson County Building Trades. We at first did one trade, which was plumbers, and we got 13 individuals over the course of 2 years, women and minorities that would never otherwise gotten into that.
They weren't getting in.
They weren't getting in. We prep them. We give them practice tests. We teach them the math and reading skills to pass the test. We prep them for the interview after they pass the test, and we pay all the costs of getting in. We pay for their initiation fee, the drug tests, their beginning dues. We give them like $600. And we found out that about half of the individuals that we were dealing with kind of walked away because they said, well, where am I going to come up with $600? So that's what we do, and we work closely with Governor McGreevey. He refers many individuals to us.
From the reentry, explain the connection here. You're the people you're working with who have been incarcerated, coming out, and then what?
Sure. So what happens is, Stephen, a lot of times, candidly, a lot of our clients have 4th or 5th grade reading levels. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to make sure they take something called the TAPE test, the Adult Basic Education Test. So if you're going to become an electrician, if you become a carpenter, you have to read, you have to be proficient. So we hired a former Catholic high school teacher to literally get people's proficiency, language arts and mathematics scores. So once we do that, then we also have to make sure it's a requirement to go into the building trades to have a license. So we have to make sure we secure somebody their license. And a lot of our guys, candidly, they have outstanding warrants, it's messy, and so we have to go into court sometimes 12 times for a single individual to get their license. And then we work cooperatively. What Bill does is they'll go, so if you're going into the carpenter's test is different than the electrician test, which is different than the operating engineer's test. So we have a pre-apprenticeship program where we run people through the cycles. We introduce them to carpentry, electrical work, but in addition, Bill drives
train them for the test.
But
That's what we do.
Yeah,
it's like the SAT. It's like an SAT prep.
And you can't get
He's
through
the Stanley
that hurdle.
Kaplan of the construction building.
And if you can't get past that test,
You can't get in.
You don't get in.
how does it change their lives, Bill? How does it potentially change the lives?
Well, it's
of these
getting
folks?
into a construction union is a career. So working on construction is a job. Getting into a union is a career. A young man or young woman looks at, in 5 years, they're making $85,000 to $100,000. Now they can buy a house. Now they can take care of a family. And most of the individuals that we get are young men who've had a tough start in life, probably have children. They now want to be respectful. They want to be good fathers, and they want to have a career that they could rest at the rest of their life.
Our friends at Horizon, who are very supportive of public broadcasting, told us a little bit about this initiative, but also about another initiative, Jim, that you wanted to talk about. It's an addiction initiative, and is it a study or some research?
I mean, we're working. So part of to go to Billy's point, a lot of our clients have a history of addiction. I mean, upwards of 80%. And so one of the real challenges is to make sure that people have adequate treatment. And that's why we love the building trades, because people have good health benefits. But we're also concerned, Stephen, is the nature of treatment in the state of New Jersey. Right now, typically, people will get about 28 days worth of treatment. And what we're seeing in the advent of the heroin and the fentanyl crisis, I mean, people that have an addiction for 3 months, for 3 years, it's not going to be cured with a 28-day cycle. And so what we're looking at is best practices, and whether it's Vermont, whether it's Rhode Island, whether in Texas. And in all of these best practices, these states recognize that you have to lock somebody down for a year. That doesn't mean that that person is in residential for a year, but that person has a navigator who's watching that person. So it's a 4-month in an intensive residential model, 4 months, whether that person lives in an Oxford house and goes out and works, but continues to see their psychiatrist, continues to see their case management, and the last 4 months where somebody is going to AA or NA and is beginning to change the fundamental behavior of their life. The reality is that we can't get someone off of heroin, off of fentanyl, and change the behaviors of their life in a 28-day. I mean, longitudinally, it's been shown that there's no long-term impact. And so what we're looking to do is, what we see is, Jim goes into treatment. After 28 days, I come out, I relapse, I go into treatment, I relapse, I go into treatment, and then tragically, an overdose. Yeah. And so what we're trying to do is to change the model and to look at what works. But what works means having that young person in our grasp for a year to track them rigorously.
A few seconds left. How important is this, Bill?
It's unbelievably important. And one of the things is you got to pass a drug test to get into a construction union.
Right.
So if you've got a drug problem, one of our rules is if you're going to fail a drug test, don't come back till you're able to pass one.
3,000 young people in New Jersey will die this year in New Jersey from overdose. Since 2015, Stephen, 10,000 young people have died. We have to do something differently. And that's why, working cooperatively with the legislature, with medical professionals, New Jersey has to change this model.
Who are these medical professionals?
Well, we're working with people from Columbia, from Cornell, with Rutgers, from our hospitals in the state of New Jersey, but they all understand for 28 days isn't going to change a pattern of 3 years, particularly with heroin and fentanyl, which in some cases,
Is it worse in New Jersey, Jim?
It's one of the worst in the country. I mean, and we're going up. The number of deaths are going up. And part of this is I see these young people going to treatment, come out, and the treatment facilities don't even talk to each other, Stephen. And so we have to change the model.
There's no coordination.
There's no coordination. There's no bi-directional exchange of information. And this isn't like, this is in real time. I mean, we lost 3 young clients last week in Ocean County.
By the way, New Jersey Build is the name of the program you're describing. I just want to clarify that.
It's a state-funded program.
It's a state-funded program, but for all of we have the northern counties, and so they can access us on NewJerseyReentry.org.
They go to your site.
Yeah, and they can go to any state legislator, and we encourage young people, young women and men, to register and become part of the program.
I just want to thank our friends again at Horizon for bringing this to our attention. Jim, as always, we'll continue the conversation. Freeholder, thank you for joining us. And good luck continuing your political activities well into the future.
In Jersey City
I'm leaving it alone. See you next time.
Thank you.
The preceding program has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, RWJ Barnabas Health, St. Peter's University, United Airlines, New Jersey State Nurses Association and the Institute for Nursing, and by New Jersey Resources. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. Caucus New Jersey has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios.
The New Jersey State Nurses Association is a leading advocate for nurses. Healthcare succeeds when each member of the team works together, and nurses are an integral part of that process. We support our nurses through continuing education, we monitor the latest healthcare trends, and we work to ensure that nurses have a seat at the table when healthcare legislation is being passed. Producing the highest quality patient outcomes is our mission, because caring for you is what matters most to us.